The next stop in our free-to-play crusade, I reckon. The Monster Inside, an audio-visual novella by Random Seed Games. So, it's supposed to take like 20 minutes. Excuse me if I sound like shit. I had a bad allergy attack yesterday, and my throat's a little scratchy and my nose is running. So, we'll try our best. My head pounded, ears still ringing slightly. Some of the worst nightmares I'd had in years left me feeling like I'd been punched in the jaw. But just like any other day, I dragged myself to the office. There was another notice on the door from Mayor Venetti's office. Permits had a date. They didn't like me much and were trying to drown me in paperwork. It was a slow month, weeks since I'd had any real case to work on, so I passed the time pacing the office, smoking and staring at the mirror in the corner, safely covered with an old bedsheet. I don't dare look at my own reflection. I'm too afraid of what I might see. Afraid someday I might have to face what I really am. The girl came in so quiet I nearly choked on my cigarette. It's very film noir, detective stuff. Mister, please, you gotta help me, mister. Calm down, sit and talk slow. Okay, thanks, it's just no one will listen to me. Just tell me your tale. She eyed me with just a dash of suspicion as I tossed back a handful of pills and chased them with a swig of whiskey. I could tell this might take a while. Her name was Lily. She told me she was his mistress, the man all over the newspapers, the infamous banker Mr. Reginald Farnsworth. Mr. Farnsworth was a drunk, philandering bastard, but this girl seemed genuinely concerned that he had recently gone missing. Less concerned about the fact that Mr. Farnsworth's wife had just turned up dead in Central Park 2 nights ago. You don't understand, he couldn't have done it. He hated his wife, but he couldn't have killed her. Everyone thinks it was him, and no one believes me. He's got to be in trouble. I ain't saying I believe you, but what makes you think he's in danger? Well, Mr. Jack. I don't want to be Jack. Jack. Whoever did that to his wife must have been the one who took him. He would have never left without me, he promised me. Poor fool. I'm sure Mr. Farnsworth promised this girl a lot of things. Please, the cops won't listen to me and they want to bring him in on charges. You gotta prove it wasn't him before they find him. Honestly, I doubt they are in too much of a hurry. Farnsworth had practically the entire police force in his deep pockets, probably why they hadn't found much yet. If they found him and brought him in, it would be due to public pressure. Sometimes a mob with pitchforks is more dangerous than any one man with money. You got my curiosity, but you might not like what I find. Oh, thank you, Mr. Jack. Thank you, but please, be careful. I don't think this was just any murderer or kidnapper. I think it was a beast. Beast. The word struck me funny, like when you jar your elbow on a hard corner. Not a word many use these days except in hushed whispers and bedtime stories for children. Oh, they were real enough, all right. They just got better at hiding, controlling their unseemly urges. But I hadn't seen any monsters in nearly 15 years. Back when I was still a cop myself. Yes, leave the detective work to me. I just have a feeling about it. Something tells me you can get to the bottom of it. You're good at this sort of thing. How do you know? Sure, can't you see how busy I am with cases as I chug my pills and drink my whiskey? I replied a little too harshly. Sarcasm wasn't my strong suit. You're wrong there. I reassured her some more and sent her on her way. I didn't want to scare her, but I warned her before she left to keep her doors locked and call me if she saw anything suspicious. I didn't know if she was in any danger herself, but better safe than sorry. That night I made my way down to Central Park. It was a long shot, but maybe there was something there the cops had missed. Action. The scene was already picked clean by the cops days ago, but I've got a knack for finding the things others overlook. Neck, more of a symptom or of a condition. Other, less useful symptoms I kept in check, but for the time being, my keen sense of smell would come in handy. It was faint, but I could smell it before I even approached the police line. The scent was less of a thing and more of an emotion. Seduction. A strangely familiar smell. Someone knows as well. I expected the scent of trepidation or maybe even outright fear, but Mrs. Farnsworth seemed to have been at the height of pleasure when she was left this world. Brought new meaning to a crime of passion. Pushing the thought from my mind, it was time to get down to business. Investigate the scene. Okay. Then we click on. Muddy footprints everywhere. Difficult to pick out anything from the prints the cops left behind in their haste. But cops don't wear $2,000 pairs of Carquinos. It looked like Mr. Farnsworth was there that night and walked away on his own 2 feet. Burn mark on a nearby tree caught my eye. I ran my finger along its length and felt a chill down my spine. This wasn't just any burn mark. This was the mark of an ancient magic. It's doubtful the cops would have picked up on it. Could Lily have been right? Something unnatural was at play here. I was no stranger to the strange. After looking around for a while longer, I realized the park had given up all it was hiding from me. So I trudged back to my apartment, and my head hit my pillow like it owed me money. The next morning, I was reeling from another bout of ghoulish nightmares, but I tried to hide my discomfort when I saw Lily was already sitting outside my office. She waited wordlessly as I unlocked the door and ripped down another notice from the mayor's office. I motioned for her to step inside. Seemingly afraid of what I might say, she finally worked up the courage to ask. So what did you find? Not sure about beast, sure. Unnatural, what do you mean? Spells, Mark. What does that mean? What about Reggie? Do you know where he might be? Sounds who's that seeing something like. My tone was indifferent towards her as I turned and grabbed the bottle from my desk drawer. The dryness in my throat made it difficult to swallow my meds. But you don't know where he went. Do you think the news this morning is related? What news is that? Haven't you heard? Obviously not. They found the police chief's wife dead down by the docks. They say it happened last night. Guess the chief is missing too. My face may have betrayed a hint of satisfaction as she confirmed my suspicions, but it faded quickly. Amato was a shit cop and a shit chief. He was half the reason I left the force, but now his wife was dead and I had more questions than I did the day before. The gears in my head started to spin, which wasn't helped by the splitting pain in my temples. I told Lily I needed time to work, and she left slightly dejected, wanting more answers than I could provide. That night, after the cops had cleared out of the docks, I would slip down and see what I could uncover concerning Mrs. Amato's untimely demise. The cold air smelled strongly of salt and oil and... Oopsies. Could it be? That smell again, like someone had bottled pure arousal and used it as perfume. It hit me like a long-forgotten memory, but the sensual fumes soon gave way to a rush of adrenaline. I knew exactly what the scent reminded me of, and that scared me more than not knowing. I looked down at my hands, shaking. The nightmares, the headaches, the ellipses. No, it was better now, reformed. I had to focus, no jumping to conclusions. Follow the evidence. Investigate the scene. Red Phoenix cigarettes. Same shitty brand I smoke every day. Everyone's got their vice. There, just there. The smallest piece of purple fabric, torn and caught in a splinter of a board. The police report didn't say anything about Mrs. Amato wearing purple. And it was certainly of a quality that you wouldn't expect down here. Don't see too many high society types around flaunting royal purple threads. I pulled out my own pack of reds and lit up. I could already feel another headache coming on, but looking out over the waves seemed to help me forget. The cold helped me push down the uncomfortable thoughts that had been bubbling to the top of my brain. I honestly don't remember the walk back to the office. Apparently I spent the night in my easy chair. The air from the docks lingered on my clothes. It was still dark out. No, I checked the clock. How long had I been out? Had I really slept through the entire next day? A newspaper was sitting under the door. As I stood to fetch it, I nearly fell over. A wave of nausea hit me like a ton of bricks. I steadied myself and regained my composure. Before I picked up the paper, I could already read the headline. Breaking, mayor missing, wife found dead. 2 cases of coincidence, 3 is a pattern. The cops would come asking questions soon. They knew I had a history of antagonizing all the victims. I stumbled to my desk and slammed back 3 days' worth of inhibitor pills. I couldn't take any chances. I had to investigate the scene to be sure. I threw on my jacket and went to the door. Lily caught me off guard on the other side. Am I a werewolf? Jack, where are you off to? I've been trying to reach you all day. Busy, I'm off to the crime scene. Okay, but we need to talk when you get back. Stay safe. She gave me a soft kiss on the cheek as I rushed off. Part of me wanted to stay and tell her it would be okay, but it would be a lie. The alley was located just behind the high-rise apartments where Mayor Venetti and his wife lived. I could tell the police were spooked now. The crime scene was even sloppier than the last. They hadn't even bothered to submit the trash into evidence. Why wouldn't they at least look through the dumpster? It seemed untouched. No one wants to do the dirty work. But I know how to find the good stuff. It really doesn't take long if you know what to look for. Lightweight bags usually mean someone was dumping documents, but if you were lucky, they didn't bother to shred them. Jackpot. Shell companies, shady stock trades, bribes. I knew Mayor Venetti was crooked, but this was unbelievable. And there was more. Letters between Mayor Venetti and Chief Amato, talking about me. How they were trying to get me shut down. They didn't like me snooping around crime scenes all the time. Well, they weren't here to stop me snooping around this one. What else? Venetti's car. If he's still alive, why wouldn't he have left it in his car? It didn't make any sense. I honestly wasn't too motivated to find him, but the stakes were too high, and my bet was edging towards the unthinkable. As I searched around for anything that might assuage my fears, I caught this sin again. It overwhelmed my other senses with undulating pleasure. It was intoxicating. A weapon used on the weak-willed. A weapon I knew all too well, though it had been many years since I had used it. Was there another like me? Was I being framed? It wasn't possible, was it? I was taking my inhibitors. I was reformed. But the nightmares, the headaches, the memory lapses. I couldn't even trust myself. I started walking back out the alley when something shiny caught my eye. Watch. Not just any watch, though. My watch. How long have my wrists been bare? Surely I just dropped it when I first came down the alley. I checked the time just before I left the office, hadn't I? Or had I used the wall clock? I couldn't be sure. I couldn't be sure of anything. So I ran. I don't know why I ran back to the office. The cops would probably show up any minute to knock the door down and cart me away. They would put it together before long. Maybe it would be best for everyone if I simply faced my own reflection. But Lily was still there waiting for me. Jack, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. My own ghost come back to haunt me from the past. You're not making any sense, Jack. Come sit down. You don't understand. You're not safe around me. I took a good last look at her as I prepared to shove her out the door. I noticed she was wearing the same thing she had when she first came to my office 3 days ago. A beautiful purple dress. Odd that I hadn't really noticed before, but it made her seem out of place, out of time. And it was frayed around the edges, torn in places. My chair caught my fall as my knees failed me. It was you. You are the monster. Succubus. Oh, Jack, we are one and the same, you and I. We are both monsters. I'm simply more honest with myself. There's no such thing as a reformation. Those pills you take only make you dull. Beasts like us should never suppress our true natures as you have, Incubus. Those men were probably dead too now, I figured. She probably took them to her lair and harvested their seed. So you've done all this just to wake me up. Wake me up inside. You could say that, though it seemed enough just to have you doubt yourself. You believed you were still capable of such horrors, which means deep down you probably are. You can't escape it now. You need to. I need you to complete the deed. Took my watch, messed with my head. Oh, don't act like I didn't do you a favor. Those men hated you and wanted you gone, and now they are gone. I mustered the strength to stand again, moving casually to the window by the corner. She was right about one thing. I was dull, weak, compared to her. If I refused her and she attacked me, I was a dead man, but I had to keep her talking. I've never met a succubus who seduces and kills women. Oh please, such a 14th century stereotype. I don't discriminate when it comes to pleasures of the flesh. But I do still need an incubus like yourself to take the tainted seed I've harvested from those awful men and plant it among the fertile masses for me. How disgusting. I'm tired of draining my levers just to survive. I'm ready to settle down and start a family. Ha 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 ha. That maniacal laughter. I positioned myself carefully, making sure she was looking my direction. Sorry, but I'm not your guy. With a quick flick of my wrist, I whipped the old bedsheet off the corner mirror. Lily was blinded by her own reflection and sucked into the mirror with a painful, monstrous scream. Trapped. Shielding my own eyes, I pulled a revolver from my desk side drawer, aimed it at the mirror. Fired. GG's. Nice quick little story. So you don't need to play it yourself, but if you want to go download it and make them happy, do so. Toodles.